Today, we're going to discuss one of the most important topics in EMS operations, which is ambulance safety. In this department, we do not spend much time transporting in an ambulance, but this does not take away from the fact that transporting patients, often under stressful conditions, in traffic, and sometimes at high speeds, can and likely will happen at some point. You could be tasked to drive the ambulance or ride in the back and perform patient care. While we focus heavily on patient care, we must never forget that our safety and the safety of the public are equally important. Ambulance crashes continue to injure and kill EMS providers, patients, and civilians every year. Many of these injuries are preventable through proper restraint use, safe driving practices, and adherence to agency policies. This lesson will examine national crash statistics, federal safety initiatives, common causes of injuries and fatalities, and ways we can improve safety in our own EMS system. Let's begin by looking at what we should learn by the end of this lesson. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to first discuss federal initiatives designed to monitor and analyze ambulance crashes. Second, understand the significance of ambulance crashes by reviewing national data. Third, identify factors that contribute to injuries and deaths during ambulance crashes. And finally, evaluate policies and procedures to determine whether they adequately protect patients and providers during transport. To understand why ambulance safety has become such a major focus, let's start with what federal agencies are doing. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, plays a major role in studying ambulance crashes. NHTSA collects crash data nationwide and analyzes trends involving emergency vehicles. Their Office of EMS works closely with the Special Crash Investigation Program. Together, they investigate serious ambulance crashes in greater detail to identify patterns and common contributing factors. The goal is simple: understand why crashes occur, identify causes of injuries and fatalities, and develop recommendations to make ambulance transport safer. One challenge in studying ambulance crashes is obtaining consistent data. That's where the MMUCC comes in. MMUCC stands for Model Minimum Uniform Crash Criteria, and historically, crash reports varied significantly between states and agencies. For example, one state may classify an ambulance differently than another. One officer may record EMS vehicle information differently than another. This inconsistency makes it difficult to compare crash data nationally. MMUCC creates standardized reporting criteria so that crashes are documented consistently. The result is better data and better analysis. If every agency records crashes differently, we cannot identify nationwide trends. Standardization allows us to compare data accurately and develop effective safety recommendations. NHTSA doesn't work alone. It partners with many organizations to improve EMS safety. NHTSA collaborates with numerous organizations, including EMS agencies, state EMS offices, NFPA, NIOSH, and vehicle manufacturers. One major initiative is promoting a national EMS culture of safety. A culture of safety means that safety isn't an afterthought. It becomes part of every decision we make. Examples include wearing seatbelts, following safe driving policies, securing equipment in the cab, reporting safety concerns, and avoiding unnecessary risks. A strong safety culture protects providers, patients, and the public. Now let's look at the numbers and see how significant ambulance crashes really are. According to national data, approximately 4,500 ambulance crashes occur each year. About 1,500 of those crashes involve injuries. Roughly 2,600 people are injured annually. One of the most important findings is that 59% of crashes occur during emergency operations. Many people assume lights and sirens make us safer because traffic should move out of our way. In reality, emergency driving often increases risk because speeds may be higher, intersections become more dangerous, drivers may react unpredictably, and visibility and perception problems can occur. Emergency responses save lives, but they also introduce significant risk. Now let's look specifically at fatal crashes. Nationally, there are about 29 fatal ambulance crashes each year. Again, most occur during emergency operations. When we examine who dies in these crashes, the findings are eye-opening. 4% are ambulance drivers, 21% are ambulance passengers, 63% are occupants of other vehicles, and 12% are pedestrians or other non-occupants. This tells us something very important. Ambulance crashes don't just affect EMS providers. The majority of fatalities occur outside the ambulance. When an ambulance enters an intersection against a red light, the greatest risk may actually be to innocent drivers who never see the ambulance approaching. We have a responsibility not only to our patients, but also to everyone sharing the roadway. Now let's look at injury statistics. Injury data shows that 17% of injured persons are ambulance drivers, 29% are ambulance passengers, 54% are occupants of other vehicles. Again, many injuries occur outside the ambulance. It's important to understand that crash data isn't perfect. Currently, systems may not exactly capture every crash, correctly identify ambulance involvement, differentiate ambulance types, specify where occupants were seated, or determine whether the ambulance was responding to a call or transporting a patient. Because of these limitations, actual injury numbers may be even higher than reported. Better data collection helps us identify risk and improve safety. So what specifically causes many of these injuries? One of the strongest findings from crash investigations is that restraint use matters. Studies found that 84% of injured EMS providers were not restrained. Only 33% of patients were properly secured with both shoulder and lateral restraints. 44% of patients were ejected from the stretcher during serious crashes. So think about that. Nearly half of the patients involved in a serious crash were thrown from the cot. Additionally, 61% of patients had only lateral restraints on. 38% had shoulder harnesses available but were not using them. A 180-pound patient becomes a projectile during a collision. That patient can injure themselves, EMS providers, and anyone else in the compartment. Seatbelts save lives in personal vehicles and they save lives in ambulances. Now let's evaluate our own systems. Now I want everyone to think about where you work or where you have worked and consider the following. How are patients secured? Are providers expected to remain restrained? How is equipment secured? What driving policies are in place? Many agencies have policies, but compliance can be inconsistent. Safety depends not only on policy, but on everyday practice. Policies are only effective when they are followed. Let's discuss specific improvement opportunities. Now let's pause the video in just a second and discuss these questions as a group. Everyone share what you think about these questions and what you think about policy improvements, equipment upgrades, training ideas, and any safety concerns. Then come back to the video to finish up. So pause now and discuss these as a group. Many safety improvements cost little or nothing. Often they simply require changing habits and increasing accountability. Let's finish with key points from today's lesson. Ambulance crashes remain a significant cause of injury and death. Federal agencies continue working to improve crash reporting and ambulance safety standards. Many injuries occur because providers and patients are not properly restrained. A strong culture of safety requires safe driving, proper restraint use, securing equipment, and continuous policy evaluation. Every person here has the ability to reduce risk by making safety a priority during every transport. As a closing question to consider, what is one change you can personally make today to improve your ambulance safety? Remember, we cannot care for our patients if we become patients ourselves. Safety must always come first.